My name is Emily. I am 28 years old. Every night, I sleep on the same bed with a boy. We were having hugs with each. We loved each other. We were the amazing couples there. Even we kissed Liv the mother and son each other. People see us, and they misunderstand everything. They whisper behind our backs. They look at us with strange eyes. Some even say, we look like a couple. But they don't know the truth. They never tried to understand our story. That boy is not my biological son, but he is my family. 3 years ago, my life was completely different. I was living alone, working a simple job, with no one to come home to. Then one day, I met Daniel. He was quiet, kind, and carried a deep sadness in his eyes, because he was raising a child, all by himself. The boy's name was Noah. He was only 5 years old. The first time I saw him, he didn't smile. He just stood there, holding his father's hand, watching me carefully. It felt like he was asking a question, without saying a word. Can I trust you? At first, he didn't talk much to me, just small words, small replies. But slowly, things began to change. One day, he came closer to me. He held my hand, very gently, and he said, "Will you stay?" I didn't know what to say, but in that moment, I understood everything. This little boy was afraid of losing people. After that, I tried my best to be there for him, not as someone replacing his mother, but as someone who would never leave. Months passed, and Daniel and I got married, and just like that, I became part of Noah's life. But not everyone accepted it. People started talking. She is too young. She is not his real mother. This relationship is strange. At first, I ignored them, because inside our home, everything was different. Noah slowly started smiling. He started laughing again. He started feeling safe. But there was one thing that never changed. He was always afraid at night. He had nightmares. He would wake up crying, calling for his father. But Daniel worked late most nights. So I stayed with Noah. I would sit beside him, hold his hand, and tell him, I'm here. One night, he looked at me and said, "Can I sleep next to you, just for today?" I looked at him, and I saw fear in his eyes. Not something wrong, just a child who didn't want to feel alone. So I said yes. That night, he slept peacefully, and for the first time, he didn't wake up crying. But that one small moment became something people outside could not understand, because they only see what they want to see. They don't see the pain. They don't see the healing. They only see and judge. And that was just the beginning of our story. The next morning, everything felt normal to us. But outside, nothing was normal anymore. It started with small looks. Neighbors watching from their windows, whispering when we walked by. At first, I ignored it. I told myself, people always talk. It will pass. But it didn't pass. It only got worse. One afternoon, I was at the grocery store with Noah. He was holding my hand, just like always. A woman standing nearby looked at us. Then she leaned toward another woman and started whispering. They both looked at me, then at Noah, and then they smiled in a strange way. I felt it, that uncomfortable feeling, like someone was judging you without knowing anything. Noah looked up at me and asked, "Why are they looking at us like that?" I forced a small smile and said, "It's nothing." But inside, I knew it was not nothing. Days passed, and the whispers turned into words. People in the neighborhood started talking openly. "This is not right. She is too close to him. This doesn't look normal." Some even said things that hurt more than I can explain. I tried to stay strong for Noah, because he didn't understand these things. He only knew one thing, that he felt safe with me. One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. He looked tired, more than usual. I could see something was bothering him. He sat down quietly, and after a long silence, he said, "People are talking." I didn't say anything, 'cause I already knew. He continued, "They are saying things about you, about Noah. About us. His voice was calm, but I could feel the pain behind it. For the first time, I felt scared, not for myself, but for Noah, because I didn't want him to grow up hearing these things. I didn't want his innocent heart to be affected by people's dirty thoughts. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, am I doing something wrong? Or is the world just too quick to judge? The next day, something happened that changed everything. Noah came home from school, very quiet. He didn't run to me like he usually did. He didn't smile. He just walked inside and sat down. I went to him and asked, "What happened?" He didn't answer. I sat beside him and gently held his hand. After a few seconds, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Are you really my mom?" That question, it broke something inside me. I looked at him, and I didn't know what to say for a moment. He continued, slowly. Kids at school said, "You're not my real mom." They said, "Something is wrong." Tears rolled down his face. And in that moment, I realized something very important. The world had finally reached him. I took a deep breath and held his face gently in my hands. I said, "Noah, listen to me. I may not be the one who gave you birth, but I am the one who will never leave you." He looked at me and silently. I wiped his tears and hugged him tightly. That day, I made a decision. I would not let the world define our relationship. I would not let people's words destroy what we built with love. But I didn't know that the real challenge was still waiting for us. And it was coming, faster than I expected. After that day, things didn't stay the same. Noah stopped asking questions, but his silence became heavier. He was still close to me, but something inside him had changed. He was thinking more, watching more, understanding more than a child should. One evening, I heard him talking to himself in his room, very softly. If she is not my real mom, then why does she care so much? That moment, tears filled my eyes, because I knew he was confused. Not about love, but about the world. Daniel also started feeling the pressure. At his workplace, people were asking him strange questions. Some were joking, some were serious, but none of them understood the truth. One night, Daniel sat with me and said, "Maybe we should change things." I looked at him, confused. He continued, "Maybe Noah should start sleeping in his own room. Maybe we should create some distance." His words were not wrong, but they hurt, because I knew this wasn't about us. This was about people. That night, I went to Noah. He was already in bed, holding his pillow tightly. I sat beside him and said, "Noah, you are growing up now." He looked at me quietly. I continued, "It's time you become a little stronger. You can sleep in your own room. I'll still be right here." He didn't say anything. He just nodded slowly. That night, for the first time, he slept alone, and I stayed awake, sitting outside his door, listening to every small sound, just to make sure he was okay. In the middle of the night, I heard a soft knock. I opened the door, and there he was, standing quietly, with tears in his eyes. He didn't say anything. He just hugged me tightly. I closed my eyes and held him close, because in that moment, I understood something very clearly. The world was trying to teach him distance, but his heart was asking for love. Days passed again, and slowly, Noah started becoming stronger. He stopped reacting to people's words. He stopped asking painful questions. One day at school, a boy tried to make fun of him, saying, "She is not your real mother." Noah looked at him and calmly replied, "She is not my real mother, but she is the one who stayed." That sentence reached me later. through his teacher. And when I heard it, I couldn't stop crying, because in that moment, I realized he understood everything. Not with his mind, but with his heart. And finally, the noise of the world started becoming smaller, but one last moment was still waiting for us. A moment that would change everything forever. It was a quiet evening, just like any other day. We were all sitting together, having dinner. For the first time in many days, there was peace. No whispers, no fear, no questions. Just us. Suddenly, Noah stood up. He looked at me with a calm and steady expression. And then he said, "I want to say something." Daniel and I looked at him silently. He took a deep breath and said, "I know, you are not my real mom." The room became completely quiet. "But," he continued, "you are the one who takes care of me. You are the one who stays when I am scared. You are the one who listens to me." His voice became softer. "But for me, you are my real mom." In that moment, everything stopped. The pain, the rumors, the judgment, all of it felt so small. I stood up, walked toward him, and hugged him tightly. Tears rolled down my face, but this time, they were not from pain. They were from peace. Daniel smiled quietly, because he knew we had made it through. From that day on, nothing else mattered. People still talked sometimes, but we didn't listen anymore, because we knew the truth, and that was enough. Noah grew stronger, happier, and full of love, and I learned something I will never forget. Family is not about blood, it's about who stays when the world walks away. A moral message: people will always judge what they don't understand. They will create stories without knowing the truth, but real relationships are not defined by what people say. They are defined by love, trust, and presence. Sometimes, the strongest bonds are not made by blood, but by the hearts that choose to stay together. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more practical life stories like this. Thanks for listening.